everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com, and you know what day of the week it is. It's Friday. Gotta get down on Friday because it's time to talk about... He's not here this time. We're all fine. Yes, that's right, last week I was guilty of forgetting about Keith, but at the same time, the weeks roll on, and we're nearly at the end of 2020, and yes, it looks like Will Ospreay's got the league table sewn up, but there's still plenty of points to play for in determining the overall order of the list. So, without any further ado, let's take a look at the honourable mentions. First of all, I want to give a big shout out to Kip Sabian, who had a great match on AEW Dark against Kenny Omega, and then took part in a decent tag team encounter on Dynamite as well, even though Justin Roberts described him as coming from Norfolk, England, when it's Norfolk, Justin, it's Norfolk. Tommaso Ciampa was part of an excellent triple threat match on NXT, but unfortunately did not win and get the chance to reclaim Goldie, his prized NXT championship that he never lost. So tragic. Brian Cage and Michael Elgin had a big muscly muscle lads match at Impact Montreal Showdown, which a lot of people loved and I enjoyed, but maybe not as much as the general consensus did. It's just my opinion, I don't know, I just didn't. I thought it was good. Maybe not enough to get some points though. And Juice Robinson and David Finlay, who won New Japan's Tag League. So it's all pretty, it's been a strong week is what I'm trying to say, right? So if you've got some points, you should be bloody proud of yourselves, guys. I sound like a camp counsellor. Number 10 this week is, it's Keith Lee. Don't you forget, it's Keith Lee, right? And I haven't forgot about him, but man, I'm glad he didn't win. That sounds harsh, but I'm so glad he didn't win. I mean, if you watch that main event of NXT between Balor, Lee and Ciampa, Keith Lee was arguably the star. He was doing big double team moves on both guys, you know, he was lifting both at once. He was charging around the ring, showing off his freakish agility, as well as his freakish strength, but the strength's less freakish because look at him, he's obviously really strong. It's just when he's agile, you're like, what the hell's going on? But the long and short of it is, the whole point at the end of the day is that Keith Lee did not win, and I'm pretty pleased. And it's not that I don't want Keith Lee to become NXT champion one day. In fact, I think he should be WWE champion one day. I think he's that charismatic and that excellent in the ring. It's just for the sake of my own sanity in this office that I'm glad that Keith Lee didn't win that match. It's been a long week or two. Good performance though, Keith, mate. Well done. It's nothing against you personally. It's just the people that I work with. Number 9, let's stick with NXT for a little bit and talk about the former Cruiserweight champion, Lio Rush. Lio Rush put in a very valiant effort against Angel Gaza at the start of the show, but when you're the champion, sometimes valiant efforts just aren't enough. But it was a good match, and Lio Rush put in a good performance as well, just from an individual point of view too. In fact, this title reign's been really good for him. I'm worried about what's next in store for him, because obviously when you come off the back of a title reign, the future always looks a little bit uncertain, but at the same time, if you look at it on the whole, the title reign has been very good for Lio Rush. It wasn't too long ago, in fact, that he was just Bobby Lashley's little sidekick who just didn't do anything. Yes, he was appearing on Raw, but his only wrestling moves when he was interfering in matches were like, evade this person, Spider-Man jump over these stairs, and it was just stupid. It's Lio Rush. He's really good at wrestling. Let him wrestle. Sometimes it's easy, WWE. It's worth pointing out as well that he had a match with Danny Burch on 205 Live that was pretty good, but then it didn't last too long because Angel Gaza ran in and caused the DQ. That took place before the title match. I should point out that it wouldn't have made sense otherwise. Number 8, going over to All Japan now, it's in that direction. It's time to talk about Naoya Nomura. So let's talk about Naoya Nomura and his partner Jake Lee, brother of Keith. They're both pretty young, good-looking dudes, you know, guys. They're the sort of guys you want to get behind to win a tag team tournament. What the hell's going on with me today? But yeah, Nomura and Jake Lee, both very clean-cut, fairly young, good at wrestling baby faces. They're in this tag tournament. You're going to want them to win, aren't you? And that's where we come to this week, because they had a pair of excellent matches on the same night this week in All Japan's tag team tournament, and yet you may have noticed they're relatively low down in the top 10, and when they've had 2 excellent matches in the same night, you'd imagine they would scoop a heftier share of the points. Their first match was against Kento Miyahara, the super awesome ultimate mega champion ace of All Japan, who's just had an insane year, and his partner Yuma Aoyagi. And then the final, because the lads are heroes of this story, won the match. They progressed to the final against Suwama and Shuji Ishikawa, Violent Giants. Oh no. And both matches were great, especially that first one, with just a bunch of young boys flying around the ring at each other and having a wonderful little time of it. The second match was really, really good too, but the second match is where the problem lies. And we'll get to that in just a second. But for now, I'll just say, Naoya Nomura, great week for him. He's taken part in one if not two, of the best tag team matches of the year. And now number 7, we get to Nomura's partner, Jake Lee. Now, Jake Lee, I've mentioned on this list before. Naoya Nomura's been on this list before, but I've mentioned Jake Lee before. And I think he took a more prominent role in these tag team matches because he is once again being built up as a future contender for Kento Miyahara's championship. Now, as I mentioned, I've said this before, and he's never won. But maybe you'll win this time, Jake. Maybe. He's not going to win. Anyway, therein lies a deeper problem with the booking of All Japan, but I'm no expert on the landscape of All Japan Pro Wrestling, so I'm going to read a little excerpt from the excellent website Voices of Wrestling and their review of this event. Now this comes courtesy of the review of Paul Vilsh from Voices of Wrestling. Check them out, they're a really good website. Now, he enjoyed the match, but then he said, now let's talk about the booking. I hate it. There is no point in having the Violent Giants win this tournament and not putting the young guys over. They already beat them earlier during their regular tournament match, and this was like the playoffs, and even at the time, I was a little worried that they won a match against two people that are supposed to become top stars in the company. He goes on, but then before this match I thought was fine, because Lee and Nomura are just going to get their revenge. But they didn't, and I ended up being completely baffled. And I was as well. I thought these young, hot studs are surely going to win this tag team tournament, and no, the Violent Giants won. And then Vilsh goes on to explain that this sort of belies a deeper problem within the All Japan roster and landscape, because Kento Miyahara is untouchable at the top. You need to build up contenders who are believable and who will one day eventually beat him and maybe even become the new ace further down the line. But for now, it's been a little bit stagnant at the top. And in doing this, in booking these older guys to win this tournament, you've kind of done the younger guys, the hungrier up-and-comers, a bit of a disservice. That's why, despite having two really good matches this week, Jake Lee and Naoya Nomura are relatively low down in the top 10 just because they're losers. And they shouldn't have been. Number 6 this week, Matt Jackson. Right, let's talk about that crazy Texas street fight to close AEW Dynamite this week. Was it the best match of the week? Probably not. Was it the funnest match of the week? The most fun? Probably yes. And then because wrestling's meant to be fun, shouldn't the most fun match also be the best match? Shouldn't that be synonymous with each other? But it's not, because I've just made a difference between the two. This was a big loss for Santana and Ortiz, who were the Bucks' opponents in this match, but it was a big win for Matt and Nick Jackson. They become the #1 contenders for the tag team titles, and also, everyone did flips, everyone fell off the apron and through tables and stuff, but Matt's most memorable spot, I'll say, just involved a really simple bit of comedy. Yes, with the heels in control, Matt went under the ring or to ringside or something. He retrieved a Dallas Cowboys helmet from somewhere, popped it on his head, and then just used it to deflect punches, do big spears and stuff. It was silly wrestling at its very finest, and it worked in the middle of this crazy, chaotic match. So a great week for Matt Jackson, a great week for both of the Young Bucks, but a great week for Matt as well, and he gets some lovely points. I've said it's a great week for Matt, but Nick gets one more point, I'm afraid. He just did crazier stuff. And if I think Matt Jackson's to be believed from his Twitter, he said that his brother was feeling unwell all day. He was like lying on the floor and stuff. So for him to get up, get out there and put on this sort of crazy performance, I think that takes serious guts and balls. Hashtag guts and balls. I mean, it's not often somebody starts a match by getting jumped during their entrance, then hitting the Indie Taker on a rival who's not even officially in the match, he's just got himself involved, Sammy Guevara, and then going up to the top of the entranceway and diving off and putting one of your actual opponents through a table. But that's how Nick Jackson started this match. This wasn't the highlights of the match throughout, this was just the opening few minutes, and he was already working his arse off. And Nick's energy didn't even drop throughout the match. I mean, he was still going strong in the closing few stages, helping his team win the match with a chair-assisted super kick and then adding the flourish to the Meltzer driver, and even finding time midway through the bout to argue with SCU at ringside. What a week for Nick. What a week. Hooray for the Young Bucks, everyone. Hurrah. What do? I'm not going to do it. Number 4, boo! It's Finn Balor. Now, while Keith Lee was arguably the star of that triple threat match on NXT for the #1 contendership, don't you forget. Finn Balor was the one who picked up the W. And that's what's most important, isn't it, guys? Now, Finn stole the pinfall right at the end. And when I say that Finn stole the pinfall right at the end, that makes it sound like he was a proper, like, Miz or MJF type figure, skulking in the shadows, out of danger, just waiting for the right moment to just jump it, like Edge, the ultimate opportunist. But no, he wasn't. He was taking part in all the big moments during this match. He was pulling his weight. I don't want it to sort of mislead anyone when I say that Finn stole the win at the end. He did steal the win at the end because he jumped down with a coup de grace out of nowhere and stole a pinfall when it was least expected. But that was more about timing rather than the amount of effort he'd put in earlier in the match. All three guys, in fact, worked really, really hard in this match, and I'm sad that I couldn't fit Ciampa in, but in terms of results, it was Finn Balor who came out the big winner. He won the match, he's the #1 contender, and next week he's got a real chance to become Wrestler of the Week because he is in a match with Adam Cole that you can only really describe as a dream match. Two excellent wrestlers. I don't know if they've crossed paths before, but prior to their WWE careers, but I can't think of an instance. Maybe they have. But either way, I am very, very excited for this match. To be fair, the strength of NXT's booking is that no matter who won this match, I would have been excited for next week because Cole's that good and all three of the challenges are that good, they'd all match up really well. But I'm excited, very excited for Finn versus Cole in singles action for the first time I can recall anyway. Number 3, Dragon Lee. Bit of a rhyme, doing the time, all of the time. Dragon Lee, brother of Jake Lee and Keith Lee. What a week it's been for the Lee family, eh? Dragon Lee lost a match this week, but it was probably the best match of the week. Yes, he took on Kenny Omega in AAA for the AAA Mega Campeon, you know, the big belt in AAA. It's been a long time since I did Spanish at school. I'm not that good at it anymore, but you know, I tried for about half a second. And that's all that matters. Dragon Lee had a really good performance against Kenny Omega. If you've seen a big singles match featuring Dragon Lee, you'll know exactly what happened here. Massive suicide dives, terrifying big spots, but also everything in between those big moments worked to perfection. He is honestly one of my favourite I think he's absolutely fantastic. One of my favourite wrestlers in the world today, I think, on balance. Yeah, he sneaks in there, definitely. The fact that I've got to say that Dragon Lee sneaks into my favourite wrestlers in the world just shows how ludicrously talented the wrestling scene is at the minute, worldwide. Anyway, this was a really good match. Yes, Dragon Lee couldn't get the job done, but he convinced everybody that he was almost able to. He evaded several one-winged angels throughout, and unfortunately he was just caught at the end by a final one. I wonder how long the one-winged angel is going to be a protected finisher for, because whenever someone actually kicks out of that, you know the roof's going to come off of whatever arena they're in at the time. But anyway, back to Dragon Lee. A great performance, really good stuff. He could hold that belt in the future, couldn't he? No, he couldn't, because there's been political updates that I'm going to tell you about. So according to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dragon Lee is signed for New Japan Pro Wrestling, a 1-year deal. He's jumping about all over the place, isn't he? The crazy boy. The crazy boy, that's his nickname. Yeah, he's going to be in New Japan on a 1-year contract. Obviously, we've seen him in New Japan before. He was the junior heavyweight champion recently, for example, but I'm very excited to see what he can do with a proper contract there in front of him and exclusivity for New Japan. I can't wait. Let's see if he can have some awesome matches. Oh my God. Hiromu Takahashi. Dragon Lee was the guy who injured him. He's going to wrestle Takahashi at some point. It's going to be insane and scary. Can't wait. Let's make it happen. Be careful, boys. Number 2, what a week for Angel Gaza, one of the hottest rising stars in all of WWE today. So Gaza won the NXT Cruiserweight Championship from Lio Rush on NXT. It was a really, really good match. I don't know if I've seen Gaza have a bad match yet. I've seen him have short matches or ones that maybe weren't given the time they needed, but I've never seen him have a bad performance. I think he's excellent, a very fluid, very natural wrestler, and I love watching him do his work. Also, it's not just the in-ring stuff, he has bags of charisma too. I think it was the right decision to give him the Cruiserweight Championship. I think that the match made it seem competitive and close all the way through. I wasn't sure who was going to win. I do feel bad for Lio Rush because I don't know what's going to come next, but I'm fully behind. I'm on the Angel Gaza train. Ding ding, one stop for NXT, please. That's not how drivers talk. And it didn't stop there, because after the match, during a dark segment, during the ad break, Gaza proposed to his girlfriend in the ring, and she said yes. What a week it's been for him. Can you top that? How do you top both, you know, professionally and privately? How do you top that sort of, oh man. He has stolen all the happiness from someone in the world today, this week, and I feel really bad for that person. But fair play, Angel Gaza. When you're on, you're on. When you're hot, and you've managed to do it, mate. You are the Cruiserweight champion, and you're engaged to be married. Must be nice. And finally, number 1, and my wrestler of the week. Oh, what am I doing? It's Kenny Omega anyway. You know, we've had loads of different things this week. We've had contentious booking decisions like we saw in All Japan. We've had excellent matches. We've had excellent storylines. We've had silly matches. We've had fun matches. Sometimes it just comes down to the best match of the week. And often, Kenny Omega puts on the best match of the week. I don't care what Jim Cornette says. I literally don't care. Come at me, Jim. I could comfortably outrun you. As I mentioned, a lot of this match centered around the one-winged angel, which was Kenny Omega attempting his finisher various times and Dragon Lee popping out of it or escaping, or Omega having to stop halfway through and hit a different move instead. And I just thought it was another classic, amazing Kenny Omega singles match. Not amazing on a match of the year level, but on the level below that. Like a sort of, you know, like a 4.5, 4 3/4 star level. It was really, really fun to watch between two of the best in the world today, and you can't really say more than that. In fact, no, I am going to say a little bit more than that, because I've just just thought of it and I want to sound clever. Part of Omega's strength in this match, and part of his overall strength, I think, as a wrestler, was his selling of Dragon Lee's offense, his bumping and selling. Dragon Lee at one point did a huge dive to the outside, as Dragon Lee loves to do, and Omega threw himself backwards over the guardrail. It didn't look exaggerated, and I understand that Omega's sometimes guilty of being exaggerated in his motions and his facial expressions. This didn't look exaggerated. He just flew over the guardrail, toppled backwards, and it made Dragon Lee look like a killer. It made him look really, really strong and powerful and dangerous. And that's what you want. That's what you want as a wrestler. You want someone like Kenny Omega to make you look like $1 million. Probably not someone who's going to beat you with the finisher that nobody can kick out of, though, which is also what Kenny Omega is. I'm thinking too much about this. 10 points for Kenny Omega. Can someone kick out of the One-Winged Angel soon, please? I'm getting a bit scared. And finally, let's take a look at the league table. No changes in the top 10 so far, but as you'll see in just a little bit, Adam Cole is up to 11th, and he also has a chance to improve upon that total next week against Finn Balor. I'm so looking forward to that match. Kenny Omega is up to 14th place, and Dragon Lee is up to 17th place after their excellent AAA match, although it will be a while before we see Dragon Lee in AAA again. And finally, I think that's it. I don't think there are any more changes. Thanks for watching. I guess tune in next week. I don't know what to say now. I thought there was more than that. Bye. Thanks very much for watching, and let us know what you think in the comments section down below. You can follow Cultaholic on Twitter at Cultaholic and on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. If you enjoy what we do, then please do check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Cultaholic, where you can pledge. And don't forget, of course, most importantly of all, to hit subscribe and to join us.